So you want to step up your building game and learn how to turn this boring sad box into this slightly fancier box? Then keep on watching. Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. It's so nice to see you. So today's video is all about a Sims 4 tutorial, and I'm gonna show you how you can build a traditional house for beginners, of course, and step by step. So hopefully you enjoy this little Sims 4 tutorial, and let's get started, shall we? Okay, so first thing first, you are just gonna enter build mode, obviously, and then I'm just pressing B to access the wall tool, but we are mostly gonna use the room tool. Also make sure to enable your Sims 3 camera in camera controls, because it's much more easier to control the camera and to build. So we are just gonna build a medium-sized box, nothing too fancy, and then we are gonna add a bump out to this box, right? And so you can expand this box a bit if you feel like it. You can make this even smaller, this, you know, tiny bump out that we have in the front of the house. You can make it smaller, and I'm doing that because I really want to add a porch, and so I don't want it to be too crowded, you know. We're adding that porch. I'm even gonna, you know, make that smaller, make that box smaller so that we can have a decent sized porch, even though it's quite tiny, I know. One thing that you should consider is adding a foundation, because it just changes the whole game. And now we are just gonna center the whole build. I mean, it's not really centered, but we are just gonna move it slightly backwards. Okay, now on to roofing. We are just gonna use this type of roof over here, and now we're just gonna use the same roof, but we are gonna rotate it. By the way, you can use the coma key to rotate it, so in case you don't know, just use the coma key and you're good to go. We are gonna, you know, adjust the height of these roofs. Make sure to expand that roof piece so that it, you know, just combines with the other roof very nicely. It's sort of a puzzle, if you will. Now, to make things even more fancier, we're just gonna add a dormer, because this really changes the whole game. It really gives a dimension to the whole build, so I highly suggest using a dormer. It could be a fake room, it could be a real dormer, but it's really helpful. So you can even have two dormers if you are feeling a bit fancy. And then we are obviously gonna place two different pieces of roof. That's super important. And then we are just gonna raise up the roof, because otherwise it would look pretty strange. Now you see that tiny piece of roof that it's, you know, showing up. It's not that fancy. We don't want that in our build, and so we are just gonna use a chimney to kind of hide it a bit. So I'm basically building a 2 wide room twice, and then we are just gonna use the half wall tool to kind of, you know, build that upper part of the chimney, if that makes any sense. Now it's up to you if you want a 2 wide or 1 wide type of dormer. I personally don't like those small ones, so I don't know, it's up to you, I guess, but it looks kind of cute, doesn't it? So of course you're gonna place 2 windows on those dormers, because otherwise it would look strange. You cannot leave the dormers without windows. That's super important. So we are just gonna pick this tiny window over here, and it changes the whole look of the build. Also, do not forget to enable baby.move objects, because that's super important if you want to build. So you basically need to remember to enable your Sims 3 camera. You just have to do this once, and then you have to enable baby.move object on every single time you open your game. So that's a bit problematic, but you know, right now I'm kind of more inclined towards the idea of having a single dormer. So we are just gonna use this box over here, which is a 4 wide box, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's definitely a 4 wide box. And now you can either use the same roof, this gable roof, you know, the regular one, or you can opt for a half gabled roof, which we will be using in just a second. So this one is my favorite one, half gabled roof, and you need to make it face this way, because otherwise it will look pretty awkward. But yeah, just make sure to lower it a bit, because it will be pretty awkward. And now we're just gonna use a base cam window, and it's super cute. and it definitely changes the look of our house. So yeah, now we are just gonna pick our doors and our windows. So because we have a medium-sized wall, that's very important. See, like the short wall looks kind of odd, so we are just gonna go for the medium wall right now. We're gonna pick a medium-sized door, okay, because we have a medium wall. Obviously it would look pretty awkward if we used a short wall door for a medium-sized wall. You get what I'm saying? So we're just gonna pick one of these. Also, one more thing, do not use a modern, door on a traditional house, because it's also very problematic and it looks kind of weird. So we're just gonna go for this one, and now we're just gonna slightly center it. Now if we center it, the window and the door look kind of weird, so we're just gonna keep it this way. We're just gonna center it with the window that we have above, and we are gonna put a tiny window on the right side as well, just to make the build look much more complete, if that makes any sense. We can use this window over here, and we can also use at the top this tiny rounded circly type of window, or if you're feeling fancy, you can even use this one, which I rarely use, but I guess now it's time to use it. Okay, now one more problem. You see this piece of roof that is showing up? It's quite annoying, so we are just gonna make this whole roof smaller, and now we're just gonna expand it a little bit, and on the second roof that we just built, we're just gonna press shift and then drag that arrow upwards, so it's still kind of visible, that tiny thingy over here, but it's way better. So let's do it again, okay, you guys? You just gotta build two pieces, drag that one upwards, and then you're good to go. Also, do not shift and drag that piece of your main roof, because it will look pretty weird. It will be pretty much asymmetrical, if you will, and it will look very odd in the front of the house. So one more thing that we could do to this build is to add a bump out on the side. Now do not do this because it's not symmetrical and we don't like that, but doing this, we have one space on the left and one space on the right, and now we're just gonna build a roof. We're just gonna use a half gabled roof, and we are gonna use 3 different pieces of roof, because otherwise that ugly piece will show up and we don't want that, okay? So you just gotta build this specific part of the roof out of 3 roof pieces, if that makes any sense. We can even put a window here just to make our build look fancier and much more complete. We can even use a much bigger window. By the way, you can alt place it if you want to. That's what I'm doing right now, or you can use Ctrl+9 to raise up your window. I was just thinking of transforming this bump out into a sunroom, because it's super nice, and you can even use this room as a dining area. Do not use those ones, because those aren't quite appropriate. Those windows are kind of modern, so we're just gonna use those classic windows, okay? Those are much more suitable for the style that we are going for, considering that we are building a traditional house. We're just gonna go all out. We're just gonna build the sunroom of our dreams. We are just gonna use windows on all of those sides, and there we have it. It's super nice, and it's definitely quite a nice detail to our boring box, and so we're just gonna center the whole build once again. Also, do not forget to save your game. That's very important. Always remember to save your game every now and then, because it's super nice. Now we're just gonna change the time of the day, because the back of our house will be much more visible. Now we are gonna work on the back of the house. We are gonna add a bump out and a tiny porch as well, because as I said before, adding bump outs and porches really do help a lot with getting rid of that plain generic look, if you will. So now you can either use the same gable roof, or you can use this half gable roof, lower it a bit, expand it so that we connect those 2 roofs beautifully. And again, you can make this smaller, press shift and then drag it a bit. Now Now, what I would like to do is to actually create a dormer. So we can duplicate the dormer that we have in the front, or we can even have two separate dormers to make the back of the house look even more interesting. Okay, so we are just gonna play with that a bit. Now, do not do this because it's not symmetrical. As you can see right here, it's not symmetrical at all what I'm doing right here. So we are just gonna end up making both of this a bit smaller, as well as the roof. So now, as you can see right here, those two are quite centered and it looks much better overall. We're gonna use these tiny windows. Obviously, we're gonna raise them up by pressing Ctrl 9 at the same time. You can also outplace them, but it's much more accurate to press Ctrl 9 and to raise them up by 2. So that's what I'm saying. Now I would very much like to transform this little bump out into a balcony, so we can add a fence. And I'm thinking about, you know, adding a ladder because I don't quite often incorporate those in my builds. So now it's about time to use a ladder, right? Because we are building obviously on a small lot, so we don't have that much space to fit a staircase. By the way, you just gotta delete that part of the fencing to be able to place that ladder. You can choose whatever fence appeals to you. Now I'm just using this one. We're basically using base game very heavily. If I'm not mistaken, this whole build is only base game. So I'm trying my best to make you guys understand how you can build better houses using base game only. So we're just gonna place some more windows on this specific bump out to make it look much more complete, I guess. And so now you can even replace that window with a medium-sized window if you're feeling fancy. So I'm just choosing this one over here, which is a medium-sized window. I think it looks better overall. We're not gonna replace the other window because I like the way it looks right now. And so now we're just gonna play around with the wallpaper because choosing your wallpaper is crucial. It's such an important thing to do in order to make your build stand out. So we're just gonna use this siding wood type of wallpaper for the whole house. I really love this beige color. I feel like I'm not using it that often, so we're just gonna apply it to the whole build, and then we are gonna figure out what other accent walls we want to have on this house. I kind of like this brick, I'm not gonna lie. You can either use this one with the, you know, improvised column, or you can obviously use the simple version of it and then add the columns yourself. I prefer the second version, and I'm just gonna apply the same brick on the chimney. Now we're just gonna use the same wallpaper at the back of the house because I feel like it's too plain. We need to do something in order to make it stand out. And then you see how this part looks pretty odd without a column. You really need to break up those wallpapers by using a column. I really like this get together one. I feel like it's so classy and fits all styles, but we're just gonna use the base game one for now because I feel like it's nice to use base game the whole way through, you know. And we're just gonna apply these columns on every single corner of this house because I really do feel like it completes the whole look of this build. It really does change the whole game. One more problematic thing over here is the fact that when we are using a half gabled roof, the column won't go all the way up, and so you either have to accept the fact that it looks like this, or you can wrap around that corner using two half walls, but those will show up in the roof, which is quite inconvenient, but I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. And now I realize I forgot to apply columns to the dormers in the back of the house, which is quite sad, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So we're just gonna pick some flooring for this front and back porch. We're just gonna use these stairs over here. Always make sure to center your stairs or to center them in front of your door, if that makes any sense. Right now these stairs aren't aligned with our door, but that's okay. And now if you are feeling even more fancier, you can even put one more roof above this front porch, obviously, because we want to place some columns, and so it will be weird to place some columns without having a roof above. So So right now I'm struggling to cover that overhang over here. It's still visible, but it's not that bad. So as I said before, just do the same trick. We're just gonna drag that backwards a bit, and now we're good to go. So the whole trick consists of, you know, using two pieces of roofing and then dragging the second piece that is connecting with the other roof, dragging it a bit so that it doesn't create that overhang, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does make sense. I feel like I'm trying my best to explain these things, but hopefully the footage is much more relevant or much more illustrative than my words are. I feel like I have this word on the tip of my tongue. I don't know if it's called archway. I don't know what the proper term for this specific object is, and so I'm just gonna call it archway. That, you know, an arch that connects those columns or those pillars. I suppose those are called archways. Hopefully those are called archways. Anyways, we are just gonna change the whole texture of the roof because that's super important. In order to make your build stand out, you really need to pick whatever roof texture fits best the style of the whole house, if that makes any sense. And so I feel like we're just gonna go for this one. Also, one more important step that you need to take, you need to apply trim to your roof because it does make your build look much more complete. And now, as you can see right here, we have an overhang, but we are just gonna drag that roof piece all the way up and we should be fine. So we are just gonna apply, you know, roof trim because it does make a big difference and it does change the whole look of the house. You can even complete the whole look by adding different sorts of windows if you feel like it. So we are just gonna put some stairs right at the back of the house, and we're just gonna try to make the back of the house look more complete by adding a fence and by creating a backyard space, if that makes any sense. I started this whole build with a small house in my mind, and I didn't believe that we would do this. I wouldn't say that it's big, but a lot is kind of small because it's obviously 20 by 20. We are in Brindleton Bay, if you're wondering, and so we are just gonna recenter the whole house and we are just gonna apply some fence to this backyard because I really want to have a cute backyard space even though it's kind of small. So one more trick, if you're trying to connect that fence with the whole house and your house is on a foundation, then leave one space between your fence and that foundation and then create one wide fence and then place it in that gap, if that makes any sense. So you basically don't need to connect that fence to the foundation. You're just gonna create one wide fence and then you're just gonna, you know, move it and place it in that specific gap. And hopefully the footage helps you understand what I'm talking about. And so that's pretty much it when it comes to building a small house, a traditional house, a base game house. The same things apply to each and every build. Honestly, you know, just using different wallpapers, applying columns to your house, using an appropriate roof texture, placing appropriate windows for your build, adding different sorts of bump outs to your house to give your build a bit of dimension, as well as creating some dormers or a dormer depending on your style, on your preferences, creating balconies, all that jazz. So it's all about shapes, it's all about creativity, it's all about combining, you know, different things. So you just gotta pick very carefully your wallpaper, your roof, your trims, you know, your stairs. I think that's really important, as well as having a cute landscaping that really helps the whole build look much more complete and much more realistic, if you will. So if you're curious, I'm planning on doing much more tutorials like this. Please let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on these types of tutorials because I really do want to help you out. I'm also gonna be uploading a landscaping tutorial very soon. Even though I'm not that a landscaping guru, I will try to the best of my ability to explain you how you can achieve a decent or cute landscaping for your build. So anyways, you guys, if you enjoyed this type of content, please make sure to subscribe subscribe, like, comment, all that good jazz, because it really helps me a lot. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you a whole lot. You can even hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I'm uploading a new video if you are interested in my content. I'll see you next Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time / 7 p.m. UK time as always. And in case you're wondering, I've recently started uploading on Tuesdays as well, around the same hour or so. Have an awesome day just like you. Bye guys.